we have talked for many, very long and had many discussions about when exactly we are going to be putting this out to the public, and it will be soon. It should not be too long now. We do have our financing in place now, so that's done. That all of it and that stuff. So that's a good thing.
Well, not closed yet.
No. Yeah, well, we haven't closed on everything yet, but we do have it, we do have it in place, let me put it that way. We don't have it all closed yet.
What needs to be finished yet to start accepting applications?
The plant bids, which are going to be open Wednesday or the 8th or 9th for the BCRA plant. And most of the financings are going to be closing the latter part of this year, and then through with the BCRA side of the closings are going to be happening in February, and hopefully ours will be our last closing, which will be for plant contribution, will be March 1. But we will have pretty much all of we expect our contracts to probably open our contracts, assuming the bids get out, probably January, February, so we'll know the cost. I mean, the cost is our big issue that we don't know for the final phase of our line, and we don't know until obviously BCRA gets up there what the total cost of the plant's going to be. That'll give us a much better handle. When the financing's done, we know that's always been the concern, knowing what the total cost of the project is and knowing the financing is all in place and the money's available.
Has all the ordinances and I know there's certain legal ordinances that need to be put in place. I know there's, basically templates because other, municipalities have already done central sewer. Do you have those ready? Are they prepared?
The rate, most of the ordinances are done. The rate resolution is still being worked on. The bulk treatment agreements are still being worked on between the townships and the BCRA, because we'll be bulk service customers of theirs. Those agreements are still not finished. But most of the other stuff is now in place, yes.
Now, would any of that withhold you from accepting applications?
Yeah, well, as I said, they'll be making a decision once they know the cost. Jim, is probably the biggest thing, the cost of the financing. And those agreements will probably be done all in that. There's a lot going on, as you can guess, simultaneously. And hopefully all that will be put in place, because obviously without a bulk treatment agreement, we really don't have any place to even send the sewage. But what they need for you to be able to make an application get going, under the current agreement, both the BCRA has to sign off that it will serve, and Pocono Township has to sign off it has the ability to serve. The BCRA, I'm sure, would not do that right now because they don't have a bulk treatment agreement with us. They don't even know what their plant's going to cost. That's why I say it's real close, but it's not quite there.
But we can probably expect this by then.
I would think February. February's probably good. February, March is realistic. I think very realistic. Very realistic. Because a lot of this stuff will have to be done for all of the different financings. All these things have to be in place, and that's why it's all kind of driven that way. And so once they know the cost and the contracts are let, and then we're just really waiting for the work to be done, then it's a fairly comfortable position, barring some act of God or somebody blows up something that it's not going to happen. And then I think it's good because then you'll still be, probably a good year, or probably a good year out at least, maybe more, before the soonest date they could get to the plant. So it's probably more like a year and a half, which hopefully again will kind of tie into your time frame of getting a lot of your approvals in place. And on your stormwater problem, I don't know if you can maybe kind of slow them down a little bit. They're looking for a consistency review.
Well, the only
I know you. I appreciate you're in a catch-22 a little bit.
And the only thing I'm wondering is, can your engineer do a consistency review without accepting an application?
They actually have to have a plan to do it with.
Not a plan.
Go ahead.
I'm not asking you to accept the application, just to.
Well, I mean, to do it, say, the plan, it's the plan in process with the township. And, I'd say if you start getting, what I'd suggest is if you start really getting pushed on your stormwater consistency, as you know, they go in there for a while and take some time to get back. If you start really getting pushed, check in with us again and see where we are, because we're getting more information kind of daily now. And the closer we get, it gets easier for us to decide to start taking some applications at that point.
And with this letter that I gave you, and again, it says it may be increased to what I imagine they use as the template is a new tap and fee rather than you being an existing business, but there's only a 6-month window. So when is this going to be tightened down to at least tell us, are you using like January 2013 as the date that you have 6 months from that time?
Well, when the rate resolution gets done, that will really get nailed down, how that's gonna apply. As I said, that's in the process of being worked on. And you would get, yeah, as I said, we expect information, the plan is right now that information is gonna get out to you long before even you're given a notice to go ahead and connect for any existing business. So that people can start planning and figuring out what their true cost will be. They can start lining up somebody to do the connection, maybe getting some prices on that. And the idea was that the supervisors can get everything together maybe as far as a year out, a year in advance of us telling people to connect. They would be getting that information. But this was the first kind of an advance notice that we wanted to do with some of the potential bigger users, to give them an idea of where they would be, and just more or less a heads up that will be kind of refined some more. This at the time was based on the information we had, and it may come in to be like that, but we don't know that for sure at the moment.
And you foresee DEP changing their alternative analysis requirement on new things, or do you think that's going to be?
Yeah.
I wish they would.
Okay.
Wish they would.
In fact, that we're still trying to find out more how that's going to apply, because it's almost, as you know,
It takes
you've
more
heard from me,
users
it's
for
just,
Yeah, it does.
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
It really doesn't make a lot of sense.
It will make more sense for them to do that for existing businesses that have the system working rather than new businesses coming on that don't have a system period.
Or even just for an expansion, just because you're going over 800 gallons a day, I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. There is one project, I think their engineer may be trying to get a meeting scheduled. He told me a few weeks ago he was going to. He's got a project that is really, truly caught right in the middle of this, and they've got some plans going in to put in an on-site system, but they really don't want the on-site system. They don't have to, because it'll get done about the time the central sewer comes on. He was going to try to set up some kind of meeting with DEP, the supervisors, and try to get some answers on how this is going to apply, and I'm hoping he's successful in doing that, because we've had some calls out, but really haven't had much of a response to see how that's applied, and hopefully try to get some more answers for you, because we'd like the answers on that ourselves. That's a very confusing provision, very difficult to apply.
Actually, Jim, I've talked to different people at DEP, and I'm still getting varying answers. So I don't even think they all know exactly what's going on with that.
They probably haven't even read the manual yet.
You're probably right. But we do have our sewage meetings like every other Tuesday, so you're at 10 o'clock here, so you're more than welcome to come to those two. Just call me, and they're advertised for every other Tuesday, so everyone's on ours. So you're always welcome to come to those two if you have sewage questions.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming in. Yes, ma'am?
Blanche, Nottingham, this connection is for businesses. Is there a plan to put a mandatory connection for individual homes, and is there a tentative date for such as there is such a plan?
It would all be the same thing. It's all the users on the line, there's a mandatory connection ordinance, that both residences and businesses would have to look up. Again, an advance notice going out,
Okay.
same kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
What it may come out to on some of the, I think there'll probably be individualized notices, I'm guessing, to most of the, at least larger business users, because they fluctuate, and they can have some incredibly large numbers depending on how many gallons they're doing. For the individual property owners, they're all gonna pretty much be the same as far as tying into the township, so that may come out in the form of a newsletter or a notice to people to check on the website or something like that, rather than an individual letter. We haven't quite figured that out, but that may be there's gonna be some kind of a notice, though, so
But
people.
it'll be a similar timeline.
Yes.
And it's only affecting the people on the 611 corridor. It's not affecting you people.
Oh, it's, well, I withdraw the question.
Okay, yes, Ben?
Is this the part of the meeting where we can ask questions about the ambulance, or is that at the end?
No, you can ask now.
The last time we all met, you
Would you
were,
like to give your name, sir?
okay, I'm sorry,
We know
Vincent
you, but
Trapasso,
everybody does.
Tannersville, Pennsylvania. Last time we were here, we were still doing some evaluating and some,
Mhm.
it was under, I guess issue of trying to figure out what you were gonna do. How are we making out with that?
Okay, well, at our budget meeting, which we had on Friday,
Uh-huh.
okay, we did put it in our budget. Okay, so the cost of the ambulance, it has been put in our budget. for
So that means you decided to
2011.
move forward with it?
Yes, we're moving forward.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Susan DeLiberti. I'm from Bartonsville, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Could I have the spelling of your last name?
It's Diliberti.
Vince, we haven't made any, we have to bring that to a public meeting, of course, when we actually make the motion that we're going to be purchasing it.
I thought that's what this was, I'm sorry.
Well, it is, but I mean, we
No, the
haven't
contract
made that.
itself,
We
the
haven't-
contract itself is
yeah.
still not been
The contract
finalized.
hasn't been finalized.
Then I wanna know, has the decision been made that for sure you're gonna buy it, or are we still thinking about it?
Well, we haven't made,
In other words, get some professional advice, that was some of the things we spoke about. I know Michael Baxter's on his way here, he wanted to help out a little bit. People like that know more than you or I about commercial real estate. Or we had that conversation the last time?
we had that conversation last time.
Right, so I
never heard
thought that
anything
maybe,
back.
I don't even think
Thank
an
you.
inspection's been done on the building yet.
so it's not been done yet, is that correct, Mr.
I
Hess?
don't think so yet. No,
Thank you
inspection
for
hasn't.
your comments, we'll take them into consideration.
Sure you will.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Susan's
That's
on
okay.
She's
And
waiting
my
back
other
there.
question is this basically, there was an article in the Pocono Record, I do believe it was this week, which
Correct.
basically is saying that it's a fait accompli, that the ambulance building is going to be purchased by the township, that the township has in fact decided to
It's in our
purchase it.
budget, yes.
So you've decided to purchase it. The townsfolk who live in, this area have no say in terms of the decision-making, is that correct? The decision-making is going to be basically determined by the three supervisors, is that right? Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Okay. May I ask who owns the ambulance building?
The ambulance,
The ambulance corps, so that when you buy the ambulance building, who's going to receive the proceeds?
the ambulance,
The ambulance. Now, would that be the directors?
the directors, no, well, they do have a board of directors, but it will be the ambulance, board, yes. And
The board.
they are the directors of the ambulance.
Right, so the proceeds of the purchase are going to be divided amongst the ambulance directors, am I
No,
right?
no.
Okay, then explain that to me.
No, it goes to the ambulance. The board of directors are the ones who make, who do the voting on it.
Right, it goes
But
to,
it goes to the ambulance corporation, or I don't know if it's a corporation, ambulance.
I think it is corporation.
Yeah, I believe it is.
so it's a
Central
corporation.
Pocono Ambulance.
Exactly, but this
Yeah.
corporation.
For their cost, and then they're going to be building another building.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to be using.
I understand what you're saying. I think what I'm trying to get at is the corporation is owned by individuals? No, it's owned by the ambulance corps, which is a not-for-profit organization, is that correct? And the board of directors determines for the ambulance corps whether or not they want this deal, as you determine
They
for
vote.
the township
Yes, yes.
that we want to buy this
They
building.
do.
So the public doesn't have any true rights to come in and say, you know what, there are 800 of us here, we don't want you to buy that building.